Alright, well, while we wait for the slides, hi, I'm Alexandra. I'm the president of Climates. We're an international think and do tank on climate change, led by youth, maybe students, but also young professionals. And I'm really humbled to be here today because actually I'm able to speak for someone who was not able to attend the conference, namely Safiatou Traoré, who is the president of Climates Mali, our branch in Mali. Since we are an international network, we have several branches, including in Mali. And so this is actually their story that I'm sharing with you today. And I'm also going to say that if you have more questions, they would be really thrilled to work with you and to get in touch with you. But so today I want to speak about the problematics that my friends from Climates Mali face on a daily basis and how they address them. So actually it stemmed from an observation, namely the difficult access to water and the health problems that were linked to it. So what they have observed is that a margin of the Mali population doesn't have access to drinking water, and that health centers in Mali frequently receive people who have illnesses such as diarrhea or cholera due to lack of hygiene or water problems. And so they realized that they had more access to drinking water, but that even in urban areas it's still a problem. You can see the numbers here, 65% in rural areas, 75% in urban areas. And so they have also realized that those problems are concerning the people who are the most vulnerable, like in most cases, because they're more exposed to extreme water events, and they don't necessarily know what the best behaviors can be sometimes to counteract. So it's on two levels. First, water shortages, especially during the dry season from June to September, and then also all the problems that heavy rain can cause and floods. So populations have to move to somewhere else. There is no drinkable water that's available. Also, people who live near the river have to see that their space is decreased with the time. So that's all the problem that they can have. And so that's where Climates Mali kicks in. So there's an association of young volunteers fighting climate change, and they are mostly intervening in terms of adaptation of the population, but also providing services to alleviate the suffering of the people that they see around them. So they have this plan, Water and Climate Change Plan, to have a better access to drinking water and reduce all the health issues that are linked to those problems. And for that, they have three main projects. The first one would be an awareness campaign that they're leading since 2015 about protecting the river Niger. So they really focus on sanitation and hygiene, because what they realize is that people tend to discharge their waste in the river, and obviously it is creating health issues and problematic to access to drinkable water. So they really try to raise awareness in the past 2 years, maybe through radio, to TV, to flyers, also animation. They had stands next to the river to engage with the population there. They also went with the dyers, the sand managers who are working there, the schools around it. That's all the people that they've been trying to contact. Maybe the challenge that they face is that people mostly agree on that the behavior that some have and all have is a problem, but it's also complicated to change everything from one day to another because you need a bit more means to do that. So that's why what they think now is that it would be great that there is more regulation from local authorities and the states to really help implement those patterns, but also to give cheap sanitation services, to give alternatives to dumping waste in the water. If you don't have a place to put your waste, you don't know what to do, so it's just like more convenient to put it there as well. So that's also the pictures of the operation that they've been following since they're able to be there in person. We thought it would be nice that you can also see their action. So when they were on the radio, when they were trying to do some consultation with people, going on TV, going to see people and shooting some clips to change behaviors. They also made those events to really make this, and they asked also young people to just intervene, the sand dyers. So that's all the things that they've been doing. Yeah, and so here they're also trying to take the waste away from the river and to plant trees. Yeah, that's the last thing they're doing. They also plant trees next to the river to really also make the erosion problem non-existent in the future. The second big problem they have is donations of drinking water. and equipment on a daily basis. Not this sorry. A donation and drinking water project when they're really in need for it. So they have 3 donation types. It can be drinking water, it can be conservation material for water, and also products to treat the water so it's better drinkable in the future. They do that especially when there's displaced population. For example, during the floods happening during the rainy season, that's the moment when people sometimes have to move due to floods, and when it's really critical, they want to jump in, and they raise money on their own, and they use the money to do that instead of coming to places like here. So they really want to help, and they distribute drinking water that they take from other people. That's mostly also directed towards the residents who are next to water, but also refugees who are basically coming to the schools when there are those problems. And so, well, they make several actions across the year, but it's really depending on what they can do. Because they're a student organization, they lack means, so they want to do good, and they raise money to do that, and they really want to inspire others to do the same, but obviously they can only do the share that they are able to provide. So that's them when they were able to bring drinkable water to the places, and also to make some awareness system in schools. The third operation that they do is awareness raising and training at home water treatment. So they do that to bleaching, to boiling, filtering. What they actually do is they have this partnership with another organization who is usually providing those things. But since they are not operating in all Mali, what they're also bringing on the table is that they bring those equipment, those materials, to places where the organization cannot go or is not willing to go. It's the same thing. They try to do this 2 to 3 times a year, and that's also the way that they engage to really solve the problems on the ground. So that's only also them. The people they've been able to do the partnership with is Aquatabs, and so yeah, they're really looking forward to doing things like that. I think that's also Safia too. So yeah, they're really trying to do all of this, and like this year, what they also wanted to do is a global event. That's what they did in September this year, to sensitize more people to the issue and to really make it something that other youth can also engage in. So they had like those 3 days forum of youth on water and climate change, and the first day they were really doing this water donation. The second day was with conferences, so they tried to gather as many people as possible from different constituencies, associations, representatives of businesses, also from the government, and the point was really to talk about those issues. It was all about health and water. And the third day was a marathon. It was also a way to engage with youth that is less confronted in Mali to those problems of access to water, to make them understand, well, that's what some people in our country also has struggled with. And so the point was to, I think, run, and then they had to run a certain time to get access to water, and the water that they could collect was also going to some other people. So that was an interesting way to really bring more people on the table and to change things on the ground. Yeah, and to have more pictures from that. And so the recommendations that they came up with is that they do all those efforts, and they like to do it. They do more than just working on water, but that's things that they really like to do, and they know it's a really important issue. But what they think is that it would be great to scale up efforts on awareness raising. What they can do is on the local level around them, and they try their best, but like trying to generalize that or encourage other groups to do it would really be helpful. In order to break the habits of the populations in their way of life, in the way they work, you also need to provide concrete alternatives. So it would be maybe having a better waste management system, or providing ways to go somewhere, or to, again, give alternatives, and that's something that public authorities have more power with. And the last thing also that they really emphasize is that there is currently no concrete regulation to prohibit these habits of happening of dumping the waste, and it would really help to A, have those regulations, and 2, to have enforcement mechanism as well, so that the population also goes into this circle. And that would be the last thing. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them, but I really think that you should also ask the person who are concerned, and she'll be really happy to have any feedback, or if you have any ways to also engage with that, you want to connect, please do get in touch. the matron lobby are really looking forward to that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Leah from Indonesia. So I work for the President's Special Envoy for Climate Change, but also a board member of Youth for Climate Change in Indonesia, as well as a lecturer in the London School of Public Relations, Jakarta, in the subject of climate change communication. So before I begin, I would like to show you our map. Maybe you have heard of Bali, but Bali is only that part. Here, very small, and you still have the rest. Yeah, so Bali is actually part of Indonesia. And we are consisting of 3 different time zones, so we're pretty large. And then each island, we have more than 16,000 islands. It depends on the source. Some source says 17,000 islands. I mean, yeah, 1,000 different, maybe you need to count it yourself. So we have 267 million people, the 4th largest population, and we have the 2nd longest coastlines as well. So, and as you see, our country consists of a lot of water, and then we also have lakes and rivers inside as well. So the issue of water is pretty close to Indonesia. And connected with our event today about climate change, we're in COP, scientists stated that we need to limit temperature increase below 2 to 1.5 degrees Celsius, but since the IPCC report, we only have 12 years until we can avoid the 1.5 degrees Celsius. Yeah, so we really need to increase our ambitions in reducing the climate emission. And so as you see here, that the failure of climate change mitigation and adaptation have a lot of impacts to other world issues, and then the water crisis is over there. So, and Indonesia is pretty vulnerable in water-related climate impacts. And here's the data from National Agency for Disaster Management. 99% of disaster events in Indonesia are hydrometeorological in 2017. So we have floods. This is Jakarta, and a lot of economic losses over there. And we also have drought in several areas. This is 2007 in September. We have landslides, and we have cyclones, and then we have crop failures due to drought, crop failures due to floods. And we also have forest and land fires, and we have seawater inundation that threatens property, also contaminate the underground freshwater supply. And as you see, 65% population living in low-lying coastal zones, and will have increased vulnerabilities. And Indonesia is losing up to 2,000 islands by 2030 if nothing's being done. And Jakarta Airport will be underwater by 2030 due to primary land subsidence from the groundwater, excessive groundwater extraction, and as well as from rising sea level. So so the issue of water is pretty close to us, because as you have seen, all those disasters are related to water. And then in terms of water and climate change, in Indonesia, there are several issues, but one of the most pressing issues that we need to tackle is that more than 27 million Indonesians lack safe water, and 51 million lack access to improved sanitation facilities. This is data from the Ministry of Public Works and Housing. And then for millions of low-income families, new water connections, water wells are pretty expensive for them to acquire. So it needs a lot of cooperation to tackle that as well. And then ensuring that everyone has access to sustainable water and sanitation service is critical climate change mitigation and adaptation strategy for Indonesia for the years ahead. And we have to increase resilience in 3 areas, the economy, ecology and landscape, and social and livelihood. So as you can see, this is our target in 2019, that we will have 100% drinking water and 0% slums and 100% sanitation. But this is the progress right now. We are, well, here, the data is 2017. We're still in 72 percent. And we still have a gap of 27%, which from the previous years, each year the rate is 1%, so it's a pretty ambitious task to solve. And this is the strategic issue in drinking water provision based on the ministry's data. And to ensure provision of reliable and sustainable raw water supply, the government of Indonesia developed a plan to protect water resources and water catchment areas. And this is where, as you know, coincidence with this event, that Indonesian youth can take actions on that and be part of solving this problem. So now I would like to talk a little bit about the initiative that our office cooperated with other organizations, such as the Climate Reality Project Indonesia, an organization initiated by Agor, and then also the UNESCO as well. Last year we are cooperating with UNESCO to organize Youth for Climate Camp, which we try to increase the awareness of Indonesian young people from several provinces across Indonesia. It's a hard task because some of the provinces are pretty expensive to conduct one training over there. And then if we want to do online training, sometimes they don't really have good connection. So like we have to actually be there and then gather them, or sometimes fly them or put them in train. So it's the logistical things to reach the young people in the remote areas also quite a challenge. But since 2011, we already have 2,000 alumni of this camp. And then we keep monitoring the progress. Since then, we keep in contact with some of them are very active as well. And then from this, we see the snowball effect from that. There is a realization that if we have or we give the information to young people, they actually feel more empowered. They realize the sheer problem that we all face, especially them, because it's related to their future. And so they started to ask questions and take actions. I also lecture in a public relations university, so they don't have any previous environmental or climate change knowledge beforehand. So I just come in and then, hey, you know, there is an environmental issue or a climate change issue. Let's try to make a communication project about it. And then after 1.5 hours of a presentation or like sharing the data or the information or what the problem is, they actually started to ask, why didn't we know about this, and why are we still doing things that we are doing right now? Because if this is a problem that it threatens our lives and our future, then why are we still doing things like usual? And so that's a legit question for someone who just get a lot of information in 1.5 hours and that they have to digest it. But that's actually a question where some of these young people that we train are asking and start to find out more themselves, because 3 days of training is not enough. So after that, we conducted post-camp activities where they are tasked to make a project, either a project directly related to decreasing emission reduction, emission, or increasing climate resilience. Or just a communicating project, which is very important, making a video, making a movie, making posters, etc., doing social media. So their work is actually pretty interesting. And then one of them are actually, from Palu, where like we have earthquake and tsunami, which hit hard a few months ago. If maybe you've heard from the news, that one of them, Sukma, is our alumni, is from Palu, and then she was in the UK at that moment studying, and then she find it very hard to find the family because the loss of connection. And then her research is, this is Sukma in the middle. This is one of our alumni. And after the camp, she's becoming more passionate about doing more research in the area of climate, especially her focus was on water. So Sukma, this is Sukma with her groups. Sukma conducted a study, try to understand how the local wisdom by the local community in Palu protect the water spring. And it is amazing to see that what they have been doing for centuries, for generations, actually really good, and then it can be applied in other cities or other regencies, and then the government also can look into that, and then from this research it is found out that the success of local wisdom in springs management effort is not only carried out by the community but also preserved by the young generation who reside in Watutila village. So first it might seem like it's a myth, it's a mystic thing that, you know, you should not throw something in the river, you should not cut trees because then like bad luck will happen to you, you should, you know, all those things, the prohibitions and the suggestions seems mystical. But then the young generation right now started to see, well, actually they have a point. You know, like as Carrie said before, yeah, the elders know a lot about this, and maybe they have another way of saying it, but actually when you see it, okay, there's a reason why you shouldn't throw garbage in the river, why you shouldn't cut trees in the forest, because it can actually affect the water reservoir, and then that you know, have to be good, conduct a good manner in the forest. That's also interesting. I need to know more about that. So these things are, you know, researched by Sukma, and then she's trying to combine it with technology and then with her network to actually communicate this local wisdom to a wider community, and actually to empower the villagers, because they seems like this is the thing that we have been doing for generations. I don't know why it isn't interesting for you, you know, or why you should research this. So it's actually a realization for the villagers as well that what they're doing is really good for climate adaptation. Yeah. And so this is some of the local wisdom from there. The Pamporo ceremony is an expression of a gratefulness for the abundance of natural resources that they received, and also to avoid bad luck for the next harvest time. And then also the maintaining the cleanness of the spring environment, etc. So this is only some of them. And then this is some of the recommendations from me. It's to improve documentation of this existing research and innovation by youth across Indonesia. If Sukma was not joining this climate camp, maybe I wouldn't have known about this. But like, since we try to expand our network and Sukma reach out and actually register and then join the camp, so we know, and then we can help share this research. And we believe that, you know, there are many Indonesians doing this, either research or innovation in a local scale that can, you know, improve the quality of water in their area. So Miguel, after this, maybe there's an influx of Indonesians reaching out to you to be the Water Youth Network. So I'll try to ask Sukma to contact her friends who also doing the same research in the area. And the second is to increase the effort to communicate this research and innovation to inspire more young Indonesians to take part on it. Because the popularity of water research still needs to be improved in Indonesia. Even though we live close by the water, we are surrounded by it, but I think the amount of research and innovation needs to be improved from Indonesian youth. And third one is increase capacity building programs reaching youth across Indonesia. This is also very important, is one of the best investment we can get, because once we give them the tool, the information, and then we empower them, make them believe that they actually have the capacity to change something, even though only in the community or in the family level. Because it's heartbreaking for me, a lot of trainings that we conducted, and then some youth, really brilliant, a bit shy, and then they say, why didn't you, join this conference or join this to give your voice? And then say, oh, I don't really speak English, or I'm shy, or I don't know whether, I'm qualified for that. That's really heartbreaking, because what they're doing is great. I mean, like, she's smart, he's smart, and then he's doing more than I do, and then they are like very shy to, voice themselves, to share their work. And that's the thing that we need to do to empower these young Indonesians, that to give them confidence to speak out more, and so that they're more empowered and they can to do more. And the fourth one is register and coordinate all of these actions into one hub. This is we need maybe the help of the ministry as well, and some university network. So I think that's it from me. We are the problems, but we are the solutions. And I just want to quote Winston Churchill here. I'm an optimist. So even though like I read reports, you read reports, and you feel like, oh my God, it's so bad, but it does not seem too much use being anything else. Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Nuhar Awed from the Our Youth Climate Movement chapter in Lebanon. And today I'll be talking more about what do we do in our organization. Then I'm going to say why we say Lebanon is the gift of cars. And then I will start a project happened in the USG, University of San Joseph. AYCM is a regional organization. We are present in different Arab countries, but in each country we have a different chapter. We as a grassroots movement believe that by awareness and education, we can have a youth-led initiatives and we can be able to negotiate for better policies in our countries. So since young people are key stakeholders, we do a couple of projects. If you want to know more about us, this is our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Our latest activities, we did a solid awareness campaign in Phoenix School. We also went to Husamuddin al-Hariri School in Saida and did a workshop on solid waste management. We have been to Agadir Lycée and did 2 workshops. Also, we did a climate finance workshop at the American University in Beirut, and we did a climate policy workshop for youth in the Ministry of Environment in Lebanon. So by raising awareness, we are trying to create aware youth. In addition, our members have been part of different research related to water and to solid waste management and of different youth-led initiatives. One of the research was about mapping stakeholders, and other ones we're going to be stated later. We concentrate on SDGs, and Lebanon has signed them in April 2016. So most of our work is in SDG 13, climate action, SDG 6, clean water, and SDG 7, affordable energy. And also incorporated inside our work is SDG 14 and 5, which are life underwater and life on land. Why we say Lebanon is the gift of cars? Because 60% of the Lebanon geology is cars, and 80% of this is limestone. So this mix of limestone made our underground has a lot of caves, which allow water to accumulate there and have submarine springs. So this karst geology allowed us to have a rich underground water due to the rainfalls and since we have a coastal area and we have mountains, and so due to the snow melt mountains. And we have 2 different types of submarine springs that differ according to the geology. So the newest research that we are getting involved in is how to make use of this submarine in a natural way, and also in a way that can save our nation, because we need water, and at the same time not to affect our environment. Barbels won't be used because of the heterogeneity of our cars. It will be very ineffective. So we have fresh water, we have available water, but we have a problem in management, and this is what's happening in many different countries. And we have also in some areas problem in hygiene and safety, and this also in some areas in Indonesia, so we share this. So what we did, should we say like we wait for the submarine springs or we wait for the integrated management? What we believe in is in local initiatives. So we went to the University of San Joseph, our members were there, and they did this project. This photo shows it's in the university. The campus is 61,000 approximately meters square, and it has a landscape of 4,600. So there is a need of 11,500 liter of water per year. So we did the calculations. There were grass. If you use the grass or if you use a Mediterranean plants, so which one is better? And we found that in this area that's shown here, that coefficient of planting grass is from 0.6 till 1, and the coefficient of Mediterranean crops is from 0.3 to 4. So before the changement, we need 1,900, and after the changement, it becomes 600. And this is after the changing. All of these Mediterranean crops. So 3 things were used. First one of them is changing the crops in order to have more efficient ones. Second one is having passive irrigation. And passive irrigation is by implementing underground, you can say aquifers, but they are not real ones, in order to collect water and then be used. And this is keep the plants always green and captures water at the source and keep it circulating, and we will have automatic irrigation. And of course, there will be no need for energy because there will be no pumps. These are the kind of capillaries that were put under the plants. And this is how irrigation through capillarity goes. And these are the ones that were put inside the university. Second thing we did is we tried to reduce the unneeded use of water inside the campus by changing the taps. And not only we changed the taps, but we also purchased water savers for taps. So new taps, no leakage, saving water, and also putting water savers for them. Third step also was done in septic tanks. There was 3 septic tanks at the university, which receive around 27 meter of wastewater per day. These are the septic tanks.